Dr. Rachel Kim stumbled through the cramped corridors of Thentera, her eyes scanning the flickering console screens as the ship shuddered around her. The hyperspace jump had gone catastrophically wrong, and now the vessel was careening out of control towards the heart of the Rigel system. Rachel's thoughts were a jumble of fear and panic as she struggled to make sense of the garbled navigation data. She had been so sure of her calculations, so confident in her ability to plot a safe course through the treacherous currents of hyperspace. But something had gone horribly wrong, and now Thentera was paying the price. The ship lurched violently, throwing Rachel off balance. Alarms blared in her ears as the gravity compensators struggled to keep up with the vessel's wild oscillations. She clutched at the nearest console, her heart racing with fear as she stared into the abyss of uncertainty. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the chaos ceased. The ship stabilized, its systems faltering back to life as the gravity generators slowly reestablished their grip. Rachel breathed a shaky sigh of relief as the console screens flickered back to life, casting a pale blue glow over the darkened bridge. But as she scanned the data streaming across the screens, Rachel's relief began to curdle into dread. Thentera was still off course, its trajectory carrying it inexorably towards the heart of Rigel's fiery nucleus. And something strange, something inexplicable, was waiting for them out there in the darkness. A presence that had been lurking just beyond the edge of perception, patiently waiting for Thentera to stumble into its domain. Rachel's skin crawled as she sensed the weight of its attention, her mind recoiling from the unblinking gaze that seemed to bore into her very soul. The ship's sensors began to pick up strange energy signatures, oscillations that danced at the very edges of the electromagnetic spectrum. Rachel's eyes darted from one screen to the next, her mind racing to comprehend the impossible patterns unfolding before her. The ship's computer, normally a calm and detached presence, spoke in a voice laced with unease. "Rachel, I'm detecting anomalies in the space-time continuum. It's as if the fabric of reality is unraveling around us." Rachel's hands flew across the console, her fingers darting between buttons and levers as she desperately tried to outrun the encroaching madness. But Thentera was trapped in a vortex of distorted space-time, its systems groaning under the strain as the ship was stretched to the very limits of endurance. And then, in the heart of the chaos, a face coalesced on the main view screen. Rachel's heart skipped a beat as she stared into eyes that burned with an inner fire, a gaze that seemed to see right through her. The face spoke in a voice that was both ancient and eternal, its words dripping with an otherworldly authority. "You should not have come here, Rachel Kim. You should not have meddled in the secrets of Rigel." Rachel's mind reeled as the face began to laugh, its voice echoing through the ship like a crack of thunder. "You should not have tried to defy the guardians of the star, for in the heart of Rigel, there dwelled beings of such power and wisdom that mortal minds could hardly comprehend their existence. Beings that had watched the birth and death of stars, and had woven the very fabric of reality to their whim." The face on the view screen grew larger, its laughter echoing through the ship as Thentera was drawn closer to the heart of the star. Rachel felt her mind shrinking from the vastness of the entity's presence, her consciousness recoiling from the sheer scale of its power. "You have trespassed on forbidden ground, Rachel Kim," the face continued, its voice dripping with an ancient, unforgiving wisdom. "You have disturbed the balance, and now you must pay the price." The ship lurched violently, throwing Rachel to the deck as the gravity generators faltered beneath the entity's wrath. Alarms blared in her ears, a cacophony of warnings and danger signals that was swiftly overwhelmed by the howling wind of the entity's laughter. And then, in an instant, the chaos ceased. The ship stabilized, its systems recovering from the shock as the laughter faded away into an unsettling silence. The face on the view screen regarded Rachel with an unblinking gaze, its eyes burning with an inner fire that seemed to pierce the very soul of the ship. "You will pay the price, Rachel Kim," it repeated, its voice dripping with an ancient, unforgiving power. "You will surrender your knowledge, your secrets, and your very soul. For in the heart of Rigel, there is only one law, the law of power." Rachel's mind reeled as the face began to fade, its laughter echoing through the ship like a promise of damnation. She knew that she was trapped in a game of cosmic chess, with the fate of humanity hanging precariously in the balance. And she knew that she was running out of time, for the entity's patience was wearing thin, its attention span measured in picoseconds, not hours. Rachel's thoughts raced as she frantically scanned the ship's systems, searching for a way to break free from the entity's grasp. The Thentera's engines were dead, its fuel reserves depleted, its hull battered and bruised from the hyperspace jump gone wrong. Rachel's eyes darted across the console screens, her mind racing with possibilities as she surveyed the wreckage of her ship. And then, like a spark of inspiration, an idea ignited within her. The entity, in its hubris, had overlooked the one thing that could give Rachel a glimmer of hope: the ship's log. Rachel's fingers flew across the console, calling up the log's encrypted files as she prayed that the entity wouldn't notice her plan. The log, a comprehensive record of the Thentera's voyage, contained the secrets of the hyperspace jump, the cryptic data that had led Rachel to this fateful encounter. With trembling hands, Rachel initiated the log's self-destruct sequence, a desperate gamble that the entity would be distracted long enough for her to escape. The log's encryption protocols would take mere seconds to crack, but Rachel was counting on the entity's arrogance to buy her a little more time. As the countdown began, Rachel's eyes locked onto the view screen, her heart pounding in her chest. The entity's face reappeared, its eyes narrowing in suspicion as Rachel's plan became clear. "You dare to defy me?" It spat, its voice like a crack of thunder. "You will pay for your insolence, Rachel Kim. You will surrender to my will." The log's self-destruct sequence reached its final seconds. Rachel's hand hovered over the console, her finger poised to trigger the destruction of the log, and perhaps, just perhaps, her own salvation. As the countdown reached 0, the log's encrypted files were blown to oblivion, releasing a burst of white noise that shattered the view screen's calm surface. The entity's face distorted, its features twisting in rage as Rachel's desperate gamble paid off. The ship's systems, freed from the entity's grasp, stuttered back to life. The engines roared, fuel pumping through the veins of the Thentera as Rachel seized the opportunity to escape. The ship lurched forward, skipping across the event horizon of Rigel's gravity well like a stone across a tranquil lake. Rachel's eyes locked onto the navigation charts, her mind racing to plot a course that would take her back to the safety of human space. The entity's wrath still lingered, its presence a palpable force that threatened to drag her back into the heart of the star. The Thentera shuddered, its hull creaking under the strain as Rachel pushed the ship to its limits. Alarms still blared in her ears, but she ignored them, her focus fixed on the tantalizing promise of freedom. And then, in the instant before she cleared the Rigel system's gravitational pull, Rachel felt the entity's parting shot, a mental blast that seared her mind like a branding iron. The message was clear: "This is not the end, Rachel Kim. We will find you." The Thentera burst free of Rigel's gravity, its trajectory carrying it towards the safety of the Terran Empire. Rachel's mind reeled, her thoughts stumbling to comprehend the enormity of what had just transpired. She had faced an ancient, otherworldly power and lived to tell the tale. But as the ship vanished into the vast expanse of interstellar space, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, that the entity's malevolent gaze still lingered, waiting for its chance to strike.